show. And you know what? I love seeing people that, built their brand, take it to the next level. And my guest today, Sandra Lee, is going to talk about the reality TV series Blue Ribbon Baking Championship, now streaming on Netflix. How are you, Sandra? Thanks for stopping by. And this has been a journey, hasn't it?
It has, and I'm good and I'm grateful. Thank you. Yes, it's been a journey. It was 12 years in the making. I created the show 12 years ago. I won the Blue Ribbon in the LA County Fair in 1992. And so when you look at the fairs across the country, whether it's a state, local, or county fair, um, they are older than we are as a nation. The first fair was in 1765 in Pennsylvania, and that's 11 years before we were America as a nation. So it is the fiber and the of what makes up our annual community events. And I'm thrilled that we finally brought it to life on Netflix.
So how did you kind of come up with the, I mean, like you finally got to Netflix, but in this journey that basically, how did you get involved in baking and stuff?
Well, I've always loved baking. In fact, when I was 9 years old, 8 and 9 years old, when my siblings were playing with trucks and Barbies, I was literally playing with Wilton icing tips and sugar and so then my next thing was bread. And one of the beautiful things about the Blue Ribbon Baking competition is we have a former White House pastry chef, Bill Yosses, which I never thought we'd have someone so acclaimed. He was under Bush and Obama, so he was for a long time. We have the Lenny Kravitz of bread baking, Brian Ford, and we have Jason Biggs as my co-host. Of course, everybody knows him from American Pie, but he makes a mean banana bread. I got to tell you.
Interesting. And I guess we get these ideas coming up again for Labor Day of some ideas for baking, right? If they could go check out the series right now.
Yep, I mean, all sorts of pies. Labor Day is about pies, but it's not just things that you can bake. Obviously, you can put things together if you're like if it's really high and you don't want to turn the oven on. There's also ideas on that show for what you can do without like the real deep baking part of it. Um, but I have to say that when you go to a state fair, what's the thing that you do? You eat and you eat desserts, whether it's a funnel cake or an elephant ear. But on this 8 episode series, we have 10 competitors. It's a $100,000 prize. Everybody has a different POV. Some are great at cakes, some are great at pies, some are great at donuts, cookies. So everybody's coming from a different perspective. And it's riveting. When you see who gets sent home in the first episode, you're like, oh my gosh. When I realized after we tallied everything who was going home, I said, they're going to think we set this up. They're not going to believe this is true. And they're like, we have to do it. It's $100,000. We have very specific rules we have to follow. I'm like, but it's not Nick. I'm like, and when who wins in episode 8 with the $100,000, I literally was like, oh my God. And by episode 5, I was in tears. The desserts were so good. One of them made me start crying. I'm not kidding.
Wow. And I see this is the amazing thing about this, right? Is that you get the desserts and different things all over the United States. So people put their specific essence into that state. Wouldn't you agree? Into their baking.
I think that's I think that that's totally right. It's everybody has a different point of view, a POV, a different point of view, and they all are former ribbon winners, not blue ribbon winners, but any ribbon. And there's like 200 competitions for ribbons in every single fair. If they have a ribbon category for you to enter. So whether you're in the Minnesota State Fair or the Texas Fair, Minnesota is going on right now. Texas is coming up in October, or you're at the Washington State Fair, which is in Puyallup, Washington. Wisconsin just is over. Erie County is going on right now, which is up in New York. Regardless of the fair, everybody has their favorites. And we all remember that nostalgic fair experience. And when you get to see it brought to life on television, it really is a pleasure to watch. But it's also riveting television. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to watch, you're going to binge it. All episodes are on right now. You'll binge it. telling people, I just talked to a woman and she said to me, "Oh my gosh, I was up till 1 o'clock in the morning and I'm finishing tonight." And I'm like, "Well, honey, it's 8 episodes. Why don't you just watch one a night?" She goes, I can't just watch one a night."
Because it's just so rewarding for baking, right? When you finally the whole meal, and then finally you get that amazing dessert, it's like wow, it's a wow factor, isn't it?
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Well,
what are your
there's nothing better. I mean,
what are some of the favorites from this show that you've liked so far?
well, it wasn't a baked item. It was a fried item, and it was a python that I fed to Jason Biggs. That was a joke, but I mean, I really did do that. But that was kind of a spoof in the show. But what were the favorites? There was a donut, an apple donut. We do an apple show, but there was an apple donut that was off the charts. I mean, off the, like I ate Jason's. I literally just reached over. I'm like, "Thank you, Jason. You're so sweet," and I ate his too. There was a cake that made me start crying. I think that's episode 5. And there was a cotton candy cupcake on a stick that was ridiculous. And you're going to learn a lot. You're going to have it's a great show, and the desserts were phenomenal. And it's something many things you can recreate on your own at home too. So I hope your viewers, or not viewers, your listeners, um, watch it, and I hope that they blow up your um, Instagram or your Facebook or whatever it is that your communication platform, because I'd really love to know what they think and hear what they think might be fun for season 2.
Well, and that's the thing you wouldn't believe just, and I think you being part of HGTV, the cooking channel, Food Network, that when people are able to create something for themselves, and it can be creativity on social media as well, and it's their creation, it just makes them so excited and say, and then people that see it, see somebody do it, I could be just like that person. I could do it tomorrow. Let me go ahead
And
and try to find a recipe with AI now. They could find cool recipes and try these things.
my favorite part of this, and everything is phenomenal. You have to know I love every bit of it. It's like my baby. I created it 12 years ago, but we are in 190 countries, 38 languages, and this is America. And what's beautiful about this show is it shows that we can be competitive, but we can be kind, nurturing, and helpful. That we have some of the best baked items in the not the best in the world, and the best bakers come from us. And it's not British Bake Off. It's not the British Baking Show. It is Blue Ribbon Baking Championship on Netflix, and that is what I love very most. It is, and that is who we are and what we stand for. So I hope everybody watches this show. That show is us.
You know what? It gets you excited. It gets you excited to go check it out on Netflix. And that's the nice thing. We're starting to see more and more content back on Netflix as we're after the strike, everything's starting to come back out. That's good because I have certain shows I binge, and then when you say, okay, I'm waiting for this next show, boom, just click this on and just stream 8 episodes and be done. That's the thing. And the power is they're available all now. Now the new thing is for streaming is only putting 1 episode out a week. It's like television.
No,
No,
you can watch all 8 in a row.
yeah, exactly. Doesn't that frustrate
And
you
wait till
now
you
if
see
you're
what
binging
hits.
other things now and they're only releasing an episode a week and you're like, hey, this is what I
Yeah.
love. That's what I loved about binging. Why are they ending my binging craze?
Yeah, it's a healthy form of binging. And what's great is that when you watch episode 8, you're going to go, "What in the heck happened? Like, how did this happen?"
Hey, that's why you can't give it away. Everyone needs to go to Netflix now and watch Blue Ribbon Baking Championship. And I appreciate it so, so much, Sandra. Thanks again, Sandra Lee, and best of luck. And I know there'll be a season 2. I could just tell from the
And
feedback
thank
so
you to
far.
you.
All right, take care. Thank
Thank
you
you
again.
so much.
You're welcome. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.
You're
Bye.
listening and watching The Neil Haley Show. We'll be back in just a moment.